Stop laughing. You
No.
should start recording as soon as I walk into the room, and all the unfunny, weird, like awkward stuff, just cut out.
Yeah.
Just cut out.
If we did that, we wouldn't have much of a pod left.
That's not... Well, no, I meant like in the beginning. Like we'll do, when we have our opening and we talk and we get ready for the credits to start playing. I don't know. I haven't listened to the podcast in like 2 months. I don't know how it sounds. I don't know if we're funny or not. I don't care. I put this out, and I think we should keep doing it until nobody listens anymore.
Yeah, so if you want us to do better intro bits, reach out to us and let us know.
You just can't. I can't be. It's like anybody who just like be funny. I can't do that. I can't be funny on the fly.
Yeah, we always have trouble with the cold open.
Yeah,
figuring out the cold open.
Yeah. So I've been saying you should just record and we should see what happens, because I said something hilarious and the mic's never gonna know what the audience will never know.
Yeah.
The audience will never know what I talked about.
I don't know how you guys are going to live with the knowledge.
I'll probably say it later in the episode.
Probably will say it later in the episode. That's beside today's episode, Sam.
We're talking about we should be serious. We are talking about a group of people with a severe never mind, I was going to be ableist. We're talking about psychos. We're talking about Twitter psychos. Specifically people who believe in a Chapo to Fash pipeline, people who believe in horseshoe theory,
yep,
left liberals, quote unquote, people who believe that online harassment is real, or in addition to, actually no, we're not talking so much about Warren supporters, we're talking about more like people who probably voted for Bernie but are obsessed with policing left-wing politics on Twitter, and are also completely unaware of the fact that nothing that is... We should hammer in on this point later, but nothing on Twitter matters, but to these people, it's their entire life. And
Twitter is not real life.
People who think that Nick Mullen of Cumtown Podcast is a chairman of the DSA. Specifically, an article that was just written.
Yeah. So the bulk of this episode is inspired by a opinion piece from the Daily Beast that came out some point this week. It's these dirtbag left stars are flirting with the far right, and for reference, the whole idea of the dirtbag left has been, I wouldn't say a myth, since it definitely exists, but it's sort of a narrative that's been perpetuated ever since Bernie Sanders became a mainstream candidate. And it's really this whole idea that this sort of leftist bro culture epitomized by Chapo Trap House, TrueAnon. I don't know what you know more of them.
Cumtown. It's
Cumtown.
Chapo Trap House. It means anybody that listens to Chapo Trap House, or just a person who says Medicare for all, but also says slurs. That's the broadest definition. That anybody can fall in between those two categories.
It's basically people that are on the left but are not considered woke.
Yeah.
Or with the woke
allegedly
politics, allegedly. Because
I also think it doesn't exist.
Yeah, as we're about to get into it, there's a lot of layers in this.
The dirtbag left. Good. He was stinking up the place.
Yeah.
The libertarian left? Oh, good. That guy was so annoying.
Yeah. So, why don't you introduce some of our favorite dirtbag leftists?
So the Chapo Boys,
yeah.
Amber Frost, they always try to lump Anna Khachiyan with these people, but she doesn't identify as a leftist.
A large portion of this article is about her.
Of course. I didn't read it. I'm going to be completely honest.
You didn't read the article?
If you want to talk about the article while I read it, we can do that. I don't know. But Nick Mullen, I do know that The article said that Nick Mullen was on Bill Maher and said the N-word, and that's not true. He made fun of Bill Maher because Bill Maher said the N-word on his show.
Yeah, no, it said that he was making fun of Bill Maher.
Oh, did they change it? Because initially they said that Nick said the N-word on Bill Maher. He was never on Bill Maher.
Yeah, no, I think...
He was on Fox News with John Bolton once.
I do know that. And that's another thing that I think is strikingly different about, like, this cohort of individuals as opposed to, like, I don't know, maybe the more polished pundits, is they just kind of show up everywhere, do whatever they can, and, like, as far as interviews, and it's always pretty funny when you see these people with, like, a real political figure, like, as you were saying, Nick Mullen,
yeah,
with, like, John Bolton, or, like, the Chapo boys were, like, on that one podcast. Yeah, Skullduggery, and it's a contrast to see these, like, very serious political commentators, politicians and all that, either being interviewed or interviewing these, like, essentially political comedians.
Rest in peace, Larry King. But how funny would it be if, like, the hosts of Cumtown were on Larry King? They'd be like, "So you keep saying that Michael Douglas is gay. What do you mean by that?"
Yeah, like, I don't listen to Cumtown, so...
One of your bits involves a Chinese man being Jewish. What exactly do you mean by that? Yeah, and well, that's the funniest thing is that, like thinking like like the only political part of Cumtown is that they all voted for Bernie. So like, and by extension of that, people now project like, and they're friends with Chapo Trap House. They like hang out, and like a few of them were roommates before, and so like people have like obsessed over that and like tried to like place the status of political podcast onto Cumtown, and that's just like insane. They're like, it's not political at all, and like sort of ascribing like Nick, like people will always say things like, we need to kick Nick Mullen out of the left. Like, you sound insane, you sound psychotic when you say things like that.
Yeah, and that's like part of the whole problem is very unpolitical people are again being lumped into like essentially a movement that they're tangentially related to and used as like an indictment of that movement as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, but the thing is, this article goes through a lot of those names. I think it says, again, like Nick Mullen, Chapo Trap House, Norman Finkelstein.
What?
They call him a Holocaust denier in the article.
Well, he's not, so no, he is, moving on.
Yeah, he's a human rights activist, and the only person to publicly call him a Holocaust denier is Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, I was like, that's what's like next. Like, anarcho-democrats like will source like the CIA, and next thing they're going to be sourcing Dershowitz for like Dershowitz is going to come out against the friend of the show, Alan Dershowitz, is going to come out against the Dirtbag left on our next episode.
Yeah,
we're getting him on the air. We're going to do an interview with him about the Dirtbag left.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Alan Dershowitz about that.
I'm not gonna do Dershowitz. I'll do it next week. I'll do the Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, we still need to call into his show sometime.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the Der Show.
I don't know what you. I kept my underwear on.
Ugh.
Yeah, so people that are like were on Epstein's flight logs are like coming out swinging against the Dirtbag left.
I mean, it was really just Dershowitz, but like, well, that's a broad statement for one person.
All right, so the problem with this is simple. It's like people are on the Dirtbag left like doesn't exist, and it's a byproduct of having a terminal Twitter brain. Like, you're an insane person who spends so much time on Twitter that like you like I literally think voices, because he's not the first person to write this article. There's like dozens of articles just like this. Gwen Snyder was the one trying to prove that like Brace Belden, who's like a Jewish guy, has ties to the Nazis.
Yeah.
yeah, these people are like legitimately psychotic, and it's a byproduct of never logging off.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger things that's like a theme throughout is that a lot of people on the left, and again, it's like half the article is about Jimmy Dore and his interview with one of the Proud Boys. And most of the article is an indictment of people who are unwilling to basically say, like, that we won't work with neo-Nazis. It's it's a very long-winded way of saying that, like, if you have the potential to work with like neo-Nazis, white supremacists, conservatives even, if you like would work with them, you are a member of the dirtbag left and you are enabling them.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, that's also psychotic because like neo-Nazi literally comes out of neo-Nazism, fascism comes out of opposition to the left. So it's literally impossible for like a leftist and a Nazi to work together. And the fact that you think they're like teaming up, like Richard Spencer and Will Menaker are teaming up to bring Medicare for all to the House floor, like you have a mental illness. You're like insane. You don't understand anything about Nazism or socialism. You don't know what any of these words mean. You're just. I think it literally is like just a neoliberal like psyop, not like a real psyop, not like a CIA psyop, but like liberals are like, well, we need to like fight the leftists. A propaganda campaign that says all of their like most prominent media people are Nazis. I think that would be good enough.
Well, I would agree to some degree that it's like the point is to essentially hold the center. It's afraid of populism and equating populism on both sides to hold what are very unpopular fiscal policies in the United States, like very unpopular policies as far as like trade and like offshoring jobs and like how we're not taking care of Americans, and that's causing some people to get upset. But no, it's good. This is the way things should be, and like to do anything otherwise, you would basically be a communist and a Nazi.
Yeah, I think the word socialist, just socialist, not Marxist or communist, but socialist no longer has any bite. So that's why this like program, quote unquote, to portray, to like call socialist Nazis and Nazi socialists has like reawoken. Like a lot of pieces. Dinesh D'Souza did this. He made a documentary where he was like interviewed Richard Spencer and like he's like, "Do you believe in Medicare for all?" And Spencer's like, "Yeah, for white people." He's like, "Ha ha! He is a progressive.
Yeah,
he is
exactly.
a liberal AOC loving."
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Is it's this like sort of false equivalency of nationalism and like intense nationalism as a cause for like social policy and social advancement, like exclusively for the people of the nation, and then it's like making that equivalent of like, hey, maybe we should like give people health care. But a lot of it, we always come back to this, but a lot of it comes down to rhetoric. The dirtbag left isn't just anyone that believes in Medicare for all. It's people that believe in Medicare for all, but were also mean to me on Twitter.
Yeah, and that's all it means. Like nobody on this quote unquote dirtbag left, like none of them are that bad. Like, especially not the ones mentioned in the article. Like, yeah, Anna Kay is going to tweet something stupid every once in a while, but that's like, she likes doing that. That's just her niche. Also, she doesn't want to be a leftist. She doesn't really like to be associated with the left. So, bearing that in mind, like, none of these people, like, have ever done anything bad. They've never, like, been racist, or online anyway, or, like, attacked
anything
anybody.
Other than ironic racism.
Not, well, no one... I mean, we're not talking about Nick Mullen. We're talking about the Chapo boys. But yeah, no, none of them have ever done anything like that hurts marginalized communities, or other than like tweeting snake emojis at Elizabeth Warren. And we've already made it clear on the show that if you believe that that is like some way harming marginalized people, you're also a dumbass, and we hate you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, these people are commentators, and like half their deal is they acknowledge they have absolutely no influence over like the political landscape in America.
Yeah, that's like, and like ascribing like this influence to them is also insane. Like,
if you think that like Chapo Trap House was responsible for Hillary Clinton losing, then someone needs to let them know, because they might be interested in like figuring that one out.
But also just like thinking that they like are the chairman of the left, that like Nick Mullen is like at the DSA steering committee, like, okay, we're gonna say the N-word 20 times today. Like,
yeah, no, that's the other thing, is like they're almost entirely separate from the DSA, which is the largest socialist party in America. Whether or not you would argue that they are socialists, they're largest
socialists that are not advocating for socialism.
Yeah, they're the largest left party in America, and none of them are really that involved with DSA. Like, they participate, but they're not like running for office. They're not.
Yeah, they're podcasters. All of this, I think, comes from... All right, first of all, there is no left project in the United States. That's why I say it's so dumb to, like, police who's in it. Because you're, like, trying to create a private club and, like, you don't even have a room booked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, all this, like, saying who can and can't be, you know, a leftist, you know, is hogwash right now because there is no left project, so it doesn't matter. And I feel like people who have become so like alienated and miserable take those frustrations out on Twitter. And I did this for many years. Well, not many years, but like a year. Then I realized, you know what, this website is just for having fun with your friends. And that's all it should be. And now I only do niche posting. But a lot of people haven't overcome that hurdle yet and go on Twitter to get angry and find like neoliberal accounts to get mad at and yell at the left for not being left enough or whatever, and it comes out of a source of frustration that either they can't or they know they wouldn't, if they had the opportunity, do anything meaningful with their activism, like join the DSA or like you know, go on a rent strike, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no.
Like, knowing that you wouldn't participate if you had the chance, and knowing that you'll probably never will have the chance. So, because, like, that makes you think that Twitter is the only thing you have. So suddenly everything that happens on Twitter becomes very important.
No, exactly. Because, like, Twitter is essentially a bullhorn for every single person that chooses to download the app. Like, you can go on there and, like, yell at whoever you want every single day, and odds are you might actually get noticed. Is that productive? Not really. Is that like a constructive use of your time? Are you going to actually accomplish anything? No, you'll probably get like blocked or whatever. But seeing Twitter as anything other than like, I guess, a means to expand a network and I guess disseminate ideas almost exclusively. Anything beyond that, you're probably delusional. You're not going to start like a grassroots movement or organization through Twitter. You might be able to like boost one. You can use it as a tool to like enable actual real world change. But actual real world change doesn't happen over Twitter. Although there is like the argument made for the Arab Spring being like in the like the Twitter revolution and all that sort of thing, but that still doesn't seem to hold water as like a world shaping.
Yeah, and that's not
application.
The U.S. Like
that's true.
That, and if like
that's because revolutionary politics in America don't exist.
Yes. And to get back to what you were saying about populism, successful left wing like movements have only come via populism.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like in America, like I said, the revolutionary politics is dead. That's because like the populism we have is actually just like democratic populism. Even the right-wing quote-unquote fascist populism that we see, it is still within like the boundaries of our law, our constitution, and democracy as it exists in the United States. And so even like, I suppose within this, you're not going to instigate like an uprising over Twitter. You're not going to like tweet something so profound that like enough people are going to get upset and be like, you know what? We should elect a new government. Or I should vote for this person because I saw X thing on Twitter. Maybe you're winning a war of attrition by posting in the meme war, but like, it doesn't accomplish much. And then so to like sort of ascribe this sort of like identity of dirtbag leftists to people for their actions on Twitter, online, and in podcasts doesn't really make any sense when you realize that like it amounts to a grand total of like a couple $1,000s in their Patreon account.
Yeah. And we should expand this to not just Twitter, but also like other forms of like media communication, like podcasting. Like, is anything coming out of us pointing out that these people are like insane, rabid nuts? Like, no, we're just doing this because we enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to dish the podcast in the middle of the air. No, I realize I don't want to take a dark turn here. But
what are we doing? Why are we here?
What a waste of our time.
Oh
and the
my
people
God.
that listen to this.
We've produced 24 hours of podcasting content.
We're wasting an hour of your life by listening to it. You're a fool and a rube. You fell for it. No. But I mean, like, yeah, we identify that this is just a medium to like goof off and have some fun and some chuckles.
Yeah, work on our speaking skills.
Certainly. But so like, I fully believe that this is because like people have convinced themselves this is all we have. Like, what podcast do I listen to? What podcast should I make sure other people don't listen to? What podcast do I not like? And this is pure ideology. This is like capitalist ideology, like fomenting. Because think about it, all you're expressing is by like talking about like what Twitter accounts you shouldn't follow. Like, should you follow Nick Mullen? Should Nick Mullen be allowed in the Chapo Trap House subreddit? That was a lot of drama back in those days, etc. Like, it's the same thing as like, should I watch a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie tonight? Like, it's the same. Like, you watched Marvel stuff? Oh man, you suck. That sucks.
Pure ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. It essentially, what is being viewed as a political action, when it comes down to it, is ultimately a matter of taste, almost in the like entertainment rather than actual activism, you know?
Yeah, that's why like people who like say shit like I'm a mark, like people who get into all the sectarian stuff on the left, like I'm an ANCOM. My ideology is like real and cool. Yours sucks. Yours is fake and not real. Like all that stuff. Like it's just branding. It's just
Well, yeah, it's the commodification of radical ideology. It's essentially turning like the political compass chart and like all of these fancy names you can give yourself into like a new form of identity, a new form of like identifying like an in-group and an out-group, and it's not useful in any means other than to like, I guess, show that you're special or unique or different, or like that you fit within a certain category, when ultimately those various labels mean just about nothing. Like,
yeah.
If you were to ask, I mean, this isn't like universally true, but like if you were to ask a DSA guy and then like a Marxist like what they believe on X issue in US politics, they'd agree. Odds are they would probably have like the same take on something like Medicare for all. Like there would be some difference, but essentially when you name like a policy, it would be the same fundamental stance, because they're both far enough to the left that they want the same outcomes.
I don't know about that. I don't know how the DSA, the people in it now, would feel about the no, you know that if the Iraq War was happening right now with Instagram infographics, here's what Saddam Hussein is doing to the Kurdish population. Like, DSA types, like, all right, I don't want to get into a social Democrats versus Marxist-Leninists. Like, that's a topic for another issue, but issue, like it's a comic book. I'm talking dummy talk. But well, I was just being pedantic. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just thinking about how like literally everyone to the left of social democrats went to bat for Bernie Sanders, and that includes your
No, you're right.
Maoists,
You're right.
your Trotskyists.
That is true.
Stalinists, all that. Although I guess that's just because everyone loves Bernie and he's a unifying figure. But like, despite the policy differences, everyone went to bat for him, even though we all have these unique identities that we politically utilize to describe ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Would a DSA guy support bombing Yugoslavia? Probably.
I don't know. It's hard to say in hindsight.
I mean, half of them think that there's like a genocide going on in China, I would assume.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll have to get into the China question in another episode because I know that's a point of contention between us.
Oh, well.
But anyway, sort of getting back to like the article that was written. Yeah, it's a smooth segue. Anyway, to get back to it, yeah, a lot of what it is essentially on the left comparing different types of populism, and what I think is particularly interesting is it draws like a direct through line from QAnon conspiracies, and then the broader like left wing view of politics.
Yeah, I saw that too. I saw people were like trying to cancel Matt for saying like QAnon is correct in believing that there is a cannibalistic child sex cult that runs the government. They're just incorrect in believing that Donald Trump is going to stop it. How can you take offense to that in the year of our Lord 2020, 2021? How can you have any issue with like that statement? I don't understand.
I know he's taking like rhetorical liberties. I do not think the United States is literally being run by a pedophile sex cult of cannibals. But yeah, when it comes down to it, what the point he was getting at is that, yeah, these are the people in power. Like, QAnon is right. Jeffrey Epstein was friends with all of these people and like knew all of these people had the connections.
And they probably went to his island to rape children. Like Bill Clinton was on the flight like 27 times.
Yeah, and it's like that sort of thing where it's and
after he was convicted.
Like, conspiratorial thinking. Like QAnon is based largely on that premise that like all of this leads up to like the New World Order. Insert X anti-Semitic conspiracy here. But like up to the point where you are like actually reading the information of like who Jeffrey Epstein was, like the flight logs, Dershowitz, Clinton, Trump, all the people he was friends with. Yeah, that is true. He is friends with some of the most powerful people in America and undoubtedly had influence over them, like presidents, bank CEOs, all of that. Yeah.
Harvard law professors.
Yeah, exactly. He is up there with these connections. Now, where you choose to take it from there is either the Donald Trump is actually like a white hat pedophile who's trying to take down the deep state from the inside. And knew it all along about Jeffrey Epstein, and that's what his like final plan was because he's a mastermind. Or you can just like start to realize that like the amount of power that these people wield lets them do corrupt things and like awful things, and that it is essentially the same people that are responsible for a lot of these problems in America.
QAnon is so funny to watch. What are they saying now that the fake inauguration date is passed? Are they saying anything?
Oh, I have not been keeping up with QAnon.
Because I know that they were saying March 4th Trump was going to get inaugurated, and he didn't. Yeah. So what are they still saying that Joe Biden is part of the plan too now?
I don't know.
That's what they were saying, that Joe Biden is part of the plan, and well, actually
they
Trump
said
wanted
they replaced
to lose.
Joe Biden, right? Or it's like
either Trump replaced Joe Biden, or Joe Biden is like a puppet while Trump is still running the show. And that actually makes perfect sense. That's why the kids are still in cages.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a whole disaster with Biden's immigration policy.
Well, actually, wait a second. He hasn't undone any of Trump's policies except like the Paris Climate Accords, which isn't that big a deal anyway. So really, actually, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Maybe they are in cahoots. I don't know. Maybe Pizzagate is real, is what I'm getting at.
No, it's
Maybe
not.
It kind of is.
No,
okay.
It's not.
One of the pizza restaurants, not Comet Pizza, not the I think it was I forget, had the NAMBLA logo You know what NAMBLA is, right?
No.
The National... Okay, this is real. You can look it up. This is like a real thing that was infiltrated by the FBI and shut down. But it was the something National Association for Man-Boy Love. And it was about like pedophiles. Like pedophiles literally started a club. And it was called NAMBLA. And they had a logo. They had a little triangle logo thing. And there's a pizza restaurant in DC that has that logo as their pizza logo. And not only that, but the owner of the Pizzagate Pizzeria said that there was no basement. And there is a basement.
Well, obviously, that means that there's like it's deep state conspiracy.
All right, well, no. Here's the problem. Was there child sex sacrifice going on in that pizza restaurant? No. Is Bill Clinton best friends with Jeffrey Epstein? Yes. And that's the problem. That's the contradiction. They got that specific restaurant wrong. But I think if we keep digging, we're going to catch these guys.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's to every conspiracy, there has to be like a 20% kernel of truth. And we know what the 20% kernel of truth is. We just don't know where the margin ends.
We just don't know which DC pizzeria it's actually happening in. They just got the location wrong. They just got to keep
Here's the
looking.
thing. Here's the thing with all of that. Sex trafficking is a phenomenon that is very well documented, and you can like go online. You can like research how it works. It is very well documented as like far as like international institutions try and track it and like actually bust these sort of things. This is not how it works. Like as a documented phenomenon, that's just like not what's going on as far as like sex trafficking and like child sex trafficking. They're not bringing like kids into pizzerias. They're not sending them
yes,
out
they
in,
are.
like, Wayfair boxes.
Okay, no, they're not. They're not doing it in the pizza restaurant, but you could tell me. You're right. I want to be clear. I'm not saying Pizzagate is real, but you could tell me that like pizza is an actual code, and I would definitely believe you because
You would.
no, like again, I'm not saying they're taking kids to pizza restaurants and raping them and killing them. That's not true. All right, but it would make sense that they have like a code language for this kind of thing. And cheese pizza CP, you know, it would make sense. There's no reason. I'm not saying anything controversial. All I'm saying is that they would have a code, and I feel like that's perfectly believable. All I'm saying is that they would have a code language to talk about their heinous crimes. I don't understand how you could take opposition to that.
Well, yeah, but then you're also saying that like it's directly pizza related.
Okay, explain to me what the Podesta email meant then.
I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, exactly. And he hasn't explained it.
What? Why would he? If your emails get leaked and you say some like just really weird thing, are you just gonna like go out and talk about it? No.
All right. I don't know what I would do. I wouldn't be emailing my best friend though or whatever. Like, you left a map at my house. It seems pizza related. Like, what does that mean? It seems pizza related. Come on.
There's like a million things that could mean. It doesn't mean that he's like
you left a map
in
at my house.
Child sex trafficking.
No, but his boss is, and that's what matters more.
Also, if it's a code that's meant to hide like your heinous crimes, it wouldn't be something that like makes no sense out of context. It's not going to be something like that people read and think like, oh, what the fuck does this mean? No, it's going to be something that is innocuous. I mean, here's
like what?
I don't know.
No, give an example. If you were doing a heinous crime and you needed to speak, say you killed someone and you needed my help hiding the body, but you knew that I was wearing a wire, how would you ask for help?
I don't know.
Try. Come on.
No, I don't know.
You're getting all flustered.
No.
Just, what would you do?
Here's the thing. I don't know what I would do, but it wouldn't be something to be like, hey, Sam, I need your help. There's a map and it's something pizza related.
All right.
Because why would you have a code if it stands out like that? That's the thing.
Okay, maybe
Half
John...
of QAnon is assuming that these people are just fucking idiots. Like absolute morons. If you are literally catching the New World Order and their crimes by noticing that John Podesta has a weird pizza email. Odds are you're not actually checking, catching the New World Order doing anything.
It's more than one, mate. But, okay.
He mentions pizza in 3 emails.
He mentions that that's more than his... That's a weird amount.
What do you mean that's a weird amount? You know how many emails he sent?
How many emails?
We have 13,000 of his emails.
Yeah, and guess what?
Pizza?
Pizza's not the only code word.
Jesus Christ.
Alright, okay, now here's the thing. Maybe John Podesta's innocent. But...
Well, innocent of that.
But the Clintons are not. And that's kind of what matters more. And we can assume that someone's been as close to them as he has been, probably knows about their proclivities.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. Not to go, the Clinton crime family did this and, all... Because the rhetoric is nonsense. I think that's part of the problem is the rhetoric is just kind of out there and dumb when you can... There are clear and concise ways to present the information that, yes, the Clinton family has been involved in war crimes. They've been involved in all sorts of nonsense, financial crimes, all of that. These are actual crimes that you can read up on. It doesn't even require any
Yeah, and Bill went to Africa with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can't prove anything within that. These are other things that are absolutely true and you can prove. You don't have to bridge any gap of reason to figure out the actual crimes and bad things that the Clinton family has done.
It's a shame it's been overdone. I would say we could definitely do an Epstein episode in the future. But that's been overdone. I mean, people have made entire podcasts about it. It would be so unnecessary at this point.
And so that's where I think part of the problem comes in with this conspiratorial thinking is it has been so oversaturated with conspiracy theories about the Clintons that you can actually break out things that were done, have been proven. This is literally what he did as president. This is... things Hillary Clinton was involved in. These are their associates, things that they have put money into, things they have made money off of, the activities of the Clinton Foundation. And you can present all of these things, and people will just be like, oh, so you're one of the QAnon guys.
Yes.
And that's not even, touching on, the connections made with, Epstein or any sort of, assumption that you need to make.
You're right.
That's part of the problem.
2 things. It's literally, a proven fact that, Hillary Clinton had slave labor on the Arkansas governor's mansion, because they had prisoners do it.
Yeah.
And, if you said that to a liberal, they'd be like, and that's another thing we should bring up.
Yeah, how about Bill Clinton's assault allegations? Continuing stuff like that.
How about Snopes? Let's talk about Snopes. You know what they're doing? You see what they're doing?
Yeah.
Where, it'll be Biden said... Biden said in an interview with NASA or whatever that Indian Americans are taking over the country.
Yeah.
Right? And if you go on Snopes and look that up, it says mixture.
Yeah,
because he actually said it, but Snopes has a but after that.
Yeah, it's basically taking actual things where Biden said he has no sympathy for younger generations. And they're like, well, this is mixed. Biden did say in an interview, I have no sympathy for younger generations. But, and they provide whatever context to be it makes sense why he wouldn't have sympathy for younger generations.
Let me pull one up.
And so that's sort of where I think a lot of this problem is in the discourse where it's the dirtbag left does engage in some of the rhetoric perhaps of QAnon and all of that. But also they repeat facts that are just true. And most of the response isn't necessarily to be that's not true. It's, well, but, and then provide context that makes it a little bit better.
All right. Did Joe Biden say, oh, shut up. I'm not going to donate to the Snopes. Claim. Former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden once said he has no empathy for the plight of younger people, which he did in an interview. We all watched it.
Yeah.
And we retweeted it, and he still got to be president. So, mixture. What's true? In January 2018, Biden did say he had no empathy for the plight of younger people. What's false? Biden was making a specific and emphatic comparison between the relative progress and civility of the present moment on one hand and the upheaval and civil discord of his own youth in the late 1960s. He was not speaking in general or absolute terms.
Yeah, so he was just talking like the way boomers always do.
Uh,
by saying that he has no sympathy.
All right, but here's the thing. Like, Snopes is, like... Again, we should just do an episode on manufacturing consent, because that's all this is. Like, they're just, like, making... They're just changing the rules of what's true. They're changing... They're moving the goalpost back.
It's driving a wedge between a more critical sort of... or more prone to critiquing, like, establishment politics, driving a wedge between that faction and the mainstream.
I will say this: the Twitter left's obsession with Tucker Carlson is stupid. He's always going to say like whatever he thinks Boomer Rubes will like enjoy the most. That's just Fox News' big business strategy, and it works, so they're going to keep doing it. So like this idea that he's going to run for president in 2024 on like a based populist, like psychotic. You're a psycho if you think that. If you're on the left or the right. But that being said, there's also this growing movement of like people who will like retweet his stuff and be like, look, Tucker's based. He's talking about, that on the left people will do that. And why they're doing that is because like they are A, not very bright. B, the reason why people are becoming Trumpers and why they're like QAnon and stuff appeals to them is because they're like disgusted by the conformity of the U.S. media and how, like, think about it. If you're, like, the way that all of the, like, news media obsessed over every little thing Trump did for 4 years and now is like, oh, well, I don't have to do my job anymore because Biden is president. I'm going to, makes it look like they all are in cahoots together. Like, even if they aren't directly, like, that's what it, like, seems like. The way that, like, Snopes will say, is Biden keeping kids in cages? Yes, but like stuff like that, people are like gonna be alienated by that and feel like they're being gaslit or driven insane. So of course they're gonna like think of magical scenarios like QAnon that makes it all go away and makes it all make sense. Because in a lot of ways, yes, they are in kind of cahoots together.
Yeah, and then sort of to go back to like your leftists being like, oh no, Tucker's right. Then that perpetuates the dirtbag left stereotype that pushes them farther and farther away from like the mainstream and like people actually wanting to work with them.
Yeah, but like, when we live in a society, but yeah, like no. Being a Trumper sometimes is like the only thing that makes sense, just because of like how like Biden has pretty much turned the media into his lackeys. Like NPR is still talking about the time Trump got COVID and all that yada yada. That was like years ago. Feels like it feels like Trump was president for a decade, and
yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely true as far as like manufacturing consent. As they always say, it's the Soviets would be impressed by how in line the American media is with like the American political authorities.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and people are being drawn to things like QAnon and Tucker Carlson and all that because there is no like significant like left presence media apparatus. Because of stuff like this Dirtbag Left article, like it's been like mathematically proven that it's not true that Bernie Sanders supporters were the most mean.
Yeah, they did the study. They did the Twitter study to determine whose supporters were the most mean, and they found that wasn't it Hillary Clinton supporters were actually meaner?
Probably. I mean, she's an awful person, so it makes sense that only the worst people in the world would be attracted to her. Like, I would say probably like she got what 63 million votes, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I bet 500,000 people that voted for her genuinely loved her.
Yeah,
I would say that. The rest were all like, I'm really scared of Trump winning. Like that's, I would say 500,000, 500,000 like or people who like, and probably like 2 or 3 million were like excited at the concept of a woman president.
Yeah. And I guess the whole piece of that is like, yeah, you maybe you do start to see a dirtbag left that you created when you consistently nominate Republicans for the Democratic presidential ticket.
Yes, I will continue to be mean to Hillary Clinton on Twitter. Yeah. Not because she's a woman or because she's white, but I will continue to make mean tweets
about Hillary.
Yes, specifically about Hillary. I made one today.
It's been 4 years, but you're still going strong on that.
Well, there was a Snopes thing today, fact check. Did the Navy SEALs arrest Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
I clicked on it. It was like false, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's the other thing is we're always seeing the Q has probably just said there's going to be like arrests in a few weeks. That's what Q always does, as we were saying earlier. But yeah. So when it comes down to it, it's like when you have such a homogenous media environment, consistent failures of public policy to meet the needs of the people, and an upper class that seems determined to kick the working class any way they can.
Yeah, they're not just apathetic. They're like just like mean now. They're like openly like, yeah, I didn't pay any taxes, so what?
Yeah, exactly. When you have all of those conditions come together,
the senator lady.
Yeah,
the senator lady.
Like
down. Fuck her. Like we should. Yeah, no. Screw her. She sucks.
Yeah, no, but then when you have like all of these different things come together and you are part of that establishment, the guy saying that you're all a bunch of like pedophiles in a cult, New World Order nonsense. Those people
I feel like
get lumped together with the, hey, maybe we should improve society somewhat, make it more equitable.
You're being too dismissive of the whole pedophile thing. Like, there are many of them that are... You're being too... maybe I'm going too overzealous with it and saying that they're all... Because they're probably not all... Like, I don't think Obama's one. Certainly, Jimmy Carter's definitely not one. Yeah. But... You need to acknowledge that it is.
Here's the thing. Is it a thing that exists? Yes, probably, almost certainly. Is it a defining characteristic of, like, I guess, the American political elite? No, I would not say it is like the defining characteristic. I think that you can.
The economic elite, it's defining. I believe every CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase has probably.
Okay. No, I think that, again, to sort of bring it back to, like, the Bill Clinton thing, like, those accusations amount to speculation. Why should we resort to speculation when there are actual crimes and horrible things that we can directly pin on these people?
There are people who accused him of rape when they were underage.
Ooh.
Epstein victims.
Yeah.
They said that, like, Clinton raped them.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's true. And, again, that should be investigated. Same with, like, all the sort of accusations of that sort. What I'm saying is it's not a defining characteristic of, or it should not be a defining characteristic of our critique of the upper class because it is so variable and so much of it does come down to speculation. Like, you can map the connections, but there are concrete things that you can say that are true and are valid criticisms of these people that are verifiable and cannot be dismissed as rhetoric.
If we were living in, like, a sane world, you would be right. But, like, we're not. So, also, like, I feel like we have nothing. And I think that the best way to spend our time would be looking into what we can build so that we have something. But we also have nothing, and we don't really have the means to build anything. You know, like, I can't just go out and be like, I'm making a magic socialist party that everybody's in. If I could do that, I would have. So, that being said, you'll never beat these people legislatively. Like, you'll never beat them in the ballot box. We tried it with Bernie. Even when they say they're going to do minimum wage, you know, there's a million ways to get out of doing it. Like, just Christina Cinema, whatever her name is. So, in that sense, like, again, it's like, all you can do really is, like, accuse them of being a pedophile.
Yeah, but
like,
that doesn't accomplish anything.
No, but you're not going to accomplish anything. But you're not going to accomplish anything.
But you could.
How?
How close did Bernie come to the nomination?
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
Okay, no, come on, that's not fair.
No, how close did Bernie come to the nomination?
Not close at all. He lost by millions of votes. He was dead in the water by Super Tuesday.
Yeah, but did you think he was going to win? Did he have a shot?
No.
Did he build a massive coalition?
Yes, he did do that, but they were always going to beat it.
Did he do it saying that the ruling elite are pedophiles? No. He campaigned on, like, the obvious inequities in society. He pointed out, like, the unfairness. He campaigned on that. Because these are obvious things that everyone experiences. Yeah.
No. You're comparing us, like, all to Bernie. Here's the problem. We're never going to have, like, another Bernie-esque political candidate. And like I said, we have nothing. We have no reason to believe that Bernie would have done, like, anything if he got elected, that because the Joe Manchins of the world exist, and, you know, as you know. So, yeah, so when you have, like, nothing, you might as well just, like, accuse Joe Manchin of, like, killing a person and, like, stuff like that. Like, what, like, especially on Twitter, where nothing matters. Like, Twitter is not the real world, so... And that's what all of this is talking about. If you want to go and tweet, like, $10 words about how great socialism is, you know, that's accomplishing the same amount as calling Bill Clinton's house and accusing him of being a pedophile.
Yeah. I just don't agree with that sort of rhetoric when there's a much more pragmatic...
There's not, though. Where? Like, what? Like... What are you gonna do? What? How? If you go to Christina Cinema and, like, hold up all the statistics about why the minimum wage is great and why it should be raised and et cetera, she would have still done the little Fortnite dance, vote no.
Well, I don't think you necessarily have to convince legislatures. You have to convince the public.
But the public already all agrees. Like, it has broad appeal. It's one of the most popular policies that Biden was voted in for.
Yeah, and you have to get them to vote people like Kirsten Sinema out. I think that focusing on appealing to legislators...
But Biden was the most voted for political candidate in history, and it's still not getting done. And, like, you can't keep... I feel like you're demanding too much of poor people at that point. Like, no, okay, yeah. Vote for Bernie. Okay, Bernie's not going to win. You got to vote for Joe Biden, okay? Next step. Sorry, you have a senator from a moderate state. You got to primary that person, and you got to win the primary, and you got to beat all the super PACs that are going to exist against you to keep... and it sounds like I'm being nihilistic or, like, doomer pill. I'm not. I'm just saying that, like, the whole voting, entryism into the Democratic Party thing, it's definitely time to move on from that.
Well, I think that taking a more optimistic, hopeful approach, that there is momentum... You can achieve change over time.
People will be more optimistic when they give up on trying to reform the Democratic Party. When people ditch that pipe dream and stop with all the AOC 2024 like nonsense, I think people will be genuinely more optimistic. Because I think what's killing people inside right now is watching the things like Democrats controlling all three branches of government and still watching, like, that psychotic, evil woman do the down vote on it.
Okay, but here's the thing with that is, obviously it's, like, not just her, because it's a huge chunk of them, and so yeah.
So, like, obsessing over those people is gonna make you miserable. Wondering,
you're
like,
obsessing over those people, and you're miserable.
What?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You've mentioned Kirsten Sinema, like, 4 times.
Well, yeah, to make my point. Like, people who, like, obsess over how Joe Manchin is going to vote, they're the most miserable, like, leftists, quote-unquote, like, out there. Like, I've made peace with Joe Manchin being a piece of shit, like, years ago. Like, it's just a reality, like, you know, and I think that I'm in a better place mentally for it. I have no expectations of Democrats. And there are all these people that are like, but we voted, and now they're not doing the thing. Like, yeah, you'll feel better once you stop, like, relying on them and depending on them and think they're going to change. And, like, you know, voting for Kamala Harris in 2024 is going to leave a very, very bad taste in your mouth, and I don't want you to have to go through with that. That's all I'm saying. You're gonna feel very terrible when you vote for Kamala. I'm talking to the audience because I know that the most of them are probably gonna do it, and they're gonna feel like shit. And all I'm saying is we need to build a program where you don't have to do that. You don't have to vote for Kamala.
Yeah, but do you think that sort of, I guess maybe not giving in, but sort of like, I don't know, joining in this sort of dirtbag leftist archetype is going to help with that? Or do you think it just makes that more unappealing, or make your stance more unappealing to a lot of people?
No, it doesn't. On Twitter, nothing matters. If you go canvassing and you're like, yo, we got to do something about these pedos, and if you're like canvassing in like North Philly, and you're like calling Hillary Clinton a pedo, you're insane. And like, yeah, no, but on Twitter, nothing matters. It's just a place to have fun with your friends.
Yeah,
that's always been my take on the issue.
Yeah,
it's just so. Yes.
In conclusion, if it's on Twitter or on a podcast, it just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. This podcast doesn't matter. We do it because we like to have fun. Twitter doesn't matter. I go on it because it's funny. If, a real political thing, yes, you should spend all your time and energy on that. But until that comes, just have fun online with your friends.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good closing thought. Just have fun online with your friends.
Or offline. Better yet,
go outside.
Go hiking. Go fishing.
I think we should say this every episode, but yeah, go outside.
Go ride a bike.
Yeah. Have fun with your friends. Anyway, thanks all.